Hey everyone, I'm Jasmine. I'm a Reiki and Mental Alchemy practitioner. My Instagram handle for my offering is Sun Pluto Alchemist. And if you would like to check that out or you would just like to find out more about me, I'm going to leave my details below. So yeah, feel free to look through them. So today I'm going to talk about emotional regulation. Following up the episode I feel like I did probably a few weeks ago. I talked about depth psychology, psychoanalysis, conscious versus unconscious. So I'm gonna talk about emotional regulation in this one. So while psychoanalysis and depth psychology and stuff like that helps us to understand ourselves more, it helps us to analyze, helps us to reflect. But first and foremost, what we need to do for ourselves and for anybody else is to actually allow our emotions to come up, to actually regulate our emotions. While all of the psychological theories, it helps us to make informed choices, to be more aware, but we couldn't just jump into analyzing ourselves or to reflection without first addressing all of the emotions that comes up and all of anything that's actually attached to it that comes up first. And we need to allow our emotions and all of the stories and all of the narratives to come up, to let them be felt, to be heard, to be understood, and to be held space for in a space without judgment. So how do we come about to suppress, to ignore, to criticize, or even judge our own emotions and the stories? So it can be, for example, our caretakers are like not okay with us having certain emotions. So like for example, first example is, for example, if I were to cry because I'm upset about something, and if I were to cry, it could trigger like frustration or annoyance in my parents. And if like frustration and annoyance doesn't sit well with them, they could scold me, ask me to stop crying because it's frustrating for them. And in turn, it felt like it's not okay for me to cry. And I may unconsciously suppress this part of me, thinking that it's not okay to allow it. It can be also our caretakers have certain narratives that attach with them. So like for example, they think that crying makes you weak. Crying means that you're not strong enough. And whenever I cry, they could say like, oh, you need to stop crying. If you cry, it means that you're weak, and weak is not good, and it just means that you're not strong enough, you're not resilient enough to deal with certain things. So that itself could have caused someone or caused me to suppress their emotions. And sometimes it can be due to circular causality. So like for example, if my husband were to do something that made me feel upset, and I were to express to him like, hey, when you do this, you make me feel upset. And instead of like feeling into my upset about and thinking about like correcting the situation, or like thinking about like how he can correct his actions to make me feel better in the future, it caused him to feel guilty. It caused him to feel self-blame. Most likely it's because similar things had happened to him before in the childhood, and he doesn't like to feel blamed. He doesn't like to feel guilty for all these kind of things. And instead of correcting the situation or like correcting his action to make me feel better, he could go into this loop of like hey, you are blaming me, I don't like it when you blame me, you make me feel bad. And if as a receiver, if I were like, oh, okay, I am causing this upset in him, I'm causing him to feel not good, and maybe these emotions are wrong, and I might actually start to suppress that emotion. And in the future, it doesn't really solve anything. I will probably keep thinking in a way of like, hey, this is causing me to feel upset, but if I were to voice that out, maybe I may cause him to feel the self-blame again, and it is not okay for me to feel upset. And unconsciously, I may start to suppress this part of me, suppress my emotions, and don't let it arise within me. So the same narrative and the same emotions are usually made not okay by our family members, our family, our caretakers, and sometimes in the same culture, as the same culture, like collectively. So it can be emotions, it can be the stories, the narrative that's attached to other certain emotions and causing us to suppress them, to like not allow them. So like just for example, just the other day, I was telling my friend that I'm a bit nervous about my assignment, about me completing it, and she just said like, actually you have time, you don't have to be nervous about it. And because collectively we actually gave the same comment, or we assume the same things and the same stories and the same narrative, right? And when it keeps going in a loop, unconsciously it may just keeps us trapped in that loop of like, maybe in this case, like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be nervous about it, maybe I should be confident about it, making me unable to like withhold or like hold space for my nervousness. So that being said, sometimes we need to kind of like reflect and be more conscious and be more mindful about what we say to people, because sometimes we may, it's those words and those comments that we use so often that we may unconsciously like support or encourage the other person to suppress that emotion, suppress that story. And I understand that sometimes looking at things from a different perspective or like providing new information will kind of like help us alter, help us like change how we feel. But when somebody is actually feeling that emotion and having that certain story that's attached to it, right? Before introducing the new angle, the new perspective, the new wisdom or information, first and foremost, we need to allow that emotion to come up. We need to allow that story to be spoken, that story, that narrative to be heard, to be expressed. And sometimes you can even control your values and your conditioning. Like for example, in my family and especially my mom, she prides saving, but saving in a way of like, if there's things that's on discount, if I get it, it's kind of like I save money. I would say probably fear of missing out. So like for example, if there is a sale somewhere and I'm not there to get that certain thing that I want, and I actually got it like for a full price, at a full price item, for example, my mother actually will exclaim very loudly, it's like, "Hi, you missed that out. It's like you're losing money." And because she having such frustrated or like very triggered emotion, it will kind of like trigger the same emotion in me, and having that narrative that it is not okay, like I need to buy something at a discounted rate, I should not be paying full price item, because it means that I'm not saving the money, it means that I'm losing out in a certain way. So like in a way, even how our parents allow or not allow or not allow certain emotion in us, or trigger certain emotion in us, it can actually control the way how we see things and what kind of value do we hold and what kind of conditioning do we hold. And yes, eventually your values and your conditioning are going to control your behavior and your actions. So I want to talk a little bit about positive focus. So generally people are like not okay with negative emotions, be it like sadness, nervousness, or like upset, or like even crying. So the moment you show signs of like you being upset, or you express yourself that you're sad and you're not feeling at your, tip-top condition, people who, I wouldn't want to say like people who are like positive focused, but generally, at least for the people around me, they will try to reframe your perspective, reframe your thinking, and telling you that you have a lot that you can appreciate for, a lot that you should be grateful for. And that action or like that comment itself actually stops you from letting your emotions running its course. And like I say, you will unconsciously suppress that part of you, suppress that, sadness or upset emotion in you. And the thing is, sometimes it's just so hard to catch, because collectively, a lot of people, they actually make such comments. They actually do positive focus. They actually want to like reframe your thoughts in a certain way, and it's just so hard to catch sometimes. So whenever I cry or whenever I feel upset, like in the past, there's a tendency of me hiding this part of me. Like I wouldn't want to cry in front of people. I will actually try to find like a space where I can be alone to allow my emotions, because usually when I'm with people, right, like recently I try to be more open. I try to like allow myself like whenever I'm feeling a bit moody, or like all of the parts of me that feel the negative emotion, to kind of like be heard, be seen. And sometimes I do put it in my social media, but most of the time people around me feel like I need a solution, feel like there is something wrong at that moment. And there is an urgency that I see in people wanting to change my state of emotion. They'll provide me a solution, they'll try my best to make me feel better, da da da. And yeah, there is this assumption of like wrong. Something is wrong when you feel certain negative emotions. And again, that actually doesn't allow the emotion to run its course, and you are indirectly or unconsciously suppressing that person's emotions. Or sometimes you may even do it for yourself, and you're suppressing your own emotions. So you remember the last video when I talk about the conscious versus unconscious, the depth psychology part, where all parts of you actually contributes to your vibration, contributes to your frequency. So that's where a lot of people think like what I think will manifest, what I feel will manifest. And then whenever they feel upset, they have this urgency or wanting to change their state of emotions. But remember, even when you change it that instantaneously, that part of you still exists. That emotion still exists within you. So actually, like even if you don't feel it, or you feel like you are very disciplined most of the time to kind of like keep yourself in a positive state, keep yourself in a happy state, do know that that emotion still exists within you. It's just lying inside of you within your unconscious, and that still contributes to your vibration as well. And it contributes to how you manifest things, how you attract things into your life. So actually, to regulate your emotion, to let it run its course, is I always say it this way. I don't know if it makes sense, but I always say like, think about your digestive system. Like just allow it to do its job. Allow it to like, once you put things into your mouth, the digestive system will like runs its course, and then it will just expel out of your body naturally. And it is the same for emotions. What you just need to do is to just allow your emotions to be felt. Just allow it to arise however it comes, and whatever stories and whatever narrative it may come together with it. And once you allow that without judgment, without suppressing, without thinking that it's not right or it's not okay, eventually it's just gonna run its course, and it's just gonna get out of your system. But that being said, if you focus of like, you know what, I'm just allowing it, just get out of my system, just get out of my system. If you don't hold space for it lovingly, there is a high chance you're still resisting it. Because if you focus on letting it arise so that you could get out, you're still resisting it. You're actually still not allowing it. And the key to manifesting your dream life, the key to manifesting something that you desire, something that you want, right? It is also dependent on your vibration, and dependent on how well you can navigate and allow your emotions. So I want to introduce a little bit about what I offer, which is mental alchemy. So part of what I do is I hold space for you to allow your emotions to come up, to allow all of the sensation, to allow all of them to be felt, to be heard, to be understood, and allowing the stories and the narrative and even sometimes like anything abstract that comes along with it. And if we can, we name the emotions, and if we can't, that's okay as well, because it's the accuracy, the accuracy of the emotions that comes up, the sensation that comes with it, that is more important than naming it. But if we can name it, we will do it. And eventually, breath work does help you to regulate your emotions as well. So if you are just doing it for yourself, focus on deep breathing, focus on just allowing. And in mental alchemy, what I eventually help my clients to do is to change the narrative within, and changing the perspective, changing the angle that we look at it, and eventually it will get out of the system, it will run its course. But first and foremost, we need to allow the raw, the vulnerable emotions and stories to come up. So just giving a little bit of general advice and general tip for yourself. If you are feeling certain emotions that usually it doesn't sit well with you, and you don't feel like it's easy to allow, just close your eyes, find a safe space, close your eyes, and just keep doing deep breathing. And then especially when you can identify where the sensation is coming from, just send your breath to that area in your body. And if you can name it, and if you can't, that's fine as well. Just keep breathing through it until you feel a lot better and you feel like the emotions becomes more manageable. And especially when you talk to somebody else, and you feel like they are visibly upset, they are visibly triggered, remember, you don't have to change their perspective. You don't have to change their emotional state so fast. There is no urgency in it. What you need to do is to just hold space, and then ask them how they feel, ask them what they are thinking about their thoughts that comes along with it. When that initial stage pass and they feel like they have calmed down in a certain way, then if you want to introduce your new angle, your new perspective, then you go ahead. So remember, all of our emotions are valid. All of our stories and the narrative are valid. And they just want to be heard. They just want to be felt. And that's all you need to do. I feel like I have been repeating emotions, allowing, and stories and narratives so many times, because I feel like that is the core of emotional regulation. And it's actually just that simple. There is like no other things to it, but it just felt ironic sometimes, because this is the core, this is the key to so many things, yet most of us felt so difficult maneuvering, like allowing, as simple as just allowing it to be. And yeah, that's all I want to share. Again, this is Jasmine. I'm a Reiki and Mental Alchemy practitioner. If you like what you hear, you can like and you can subscribe. And if you would like to find out more about me and my offering, you can look under the details below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps. Love you guys, and see you guys next time.